Yeah. I got the dragon breath. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no worries. Oh, it looks good, what? Nice.
Okay, I hope you're doing well. Actually, no, I'm not sure why I'm here because as our next speaker is our regular attendee of our Hackers Congress, so I assume that everybody should know him. But if there are some exceptions, our next speaker is peer-to-peer and decentralization advocate, traveler, regular speaker for Bitcoin and decentralization conferences. So please welcome Amin Rafiee.
Thank you. Hi, welcome everyone. Hope to make things a bit better for you since the day's kind of progressed along. Hope to introduce a bit more energy into the talk. Go back, huh? All right, back up. So my name is Amin. I've been involved since 2013. I've done my best to understand and portray the true ideologies of decentralization, peer-to-peer principles, and what cryptocurrencies are and have been introducing. For me, the most interesting part has been the culture behind it, which has radically shifted since the beginning in 2013 to now. So I'll cover all these aspects, and I'll also cover the movement, so how this relates to the sharing economy. Can people in the back hear me? Yeah, all good? All right, sweet. Can I just get a show of hands? How many of you have been involved with cryptocurrencies or peer-to-peer networks or things like that for more than 2 years? Majority of you. Normally when I ask, not many people put up their hands, so it's good. You guys are professionals. I don't need to give you the basics. So move on. Those are some of my channels, so you can find me on, if you have questions, you want to join, you can go. If this is not the place to preach about Facebook, but those are my links. And I make podcast videos, and I'm actually working on a documentary which I'll follow up on shortly. So personal, who am I, what do I do? I like to break boundaries. So after being inspired by Wim Hof, who's from Netherlands, he was able to sustain his body temperature in the freezing cold. This has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies, but the point of the message is I like to break boundaries. I like to break limitations and allow my personal growth to occur based on choices that I make. So the purpose of all these events is to show people that you have a choice, right? Whether it is the choice to train yourself to sit in a cold, freezing, snow temperature day, or the choice to change your banking account to a cryptocurrency account. Everything is based on choice. We have this choice. So we come to these events and people tell us, hey, Bitcoin is going to change the future. But the fundamentals of it is that what are we doing on a daily basis to implement changes to bring us closer to that? So that's something I want to cover. I was also able to, as a vegan, without any supplements, without any bands, without any stupid magazines or videos or anything, deadlift twice my weight. At that point, I weighed at 65 kilos, so I deadlifted 130 kilos. The point of it, again, is to show that you can break through your barriers. I'm not a special guy. I'm no different to you. If you feel like, oh, maybe he's physiologically different, that's why he did it, no. That's not why I did it. I can train anyone in this room to do the same, and I hope you believe that. And I have done that for other people. The best way to show someone something is to get them to do it themselves. So the best way for someone to be implemented and to use Bitcoin is to get them to download the wallet and send it to them. Then they get how simple it is. Then they understand how beautiful it is. So let's move on. Please watch this video. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, everyone, let's get started. Just choose a spot that feels right to you.
Hello. Sorry, excuse me.
Someone's gonna get close. I don't think I've seen you before. Beginners usually take a spot at the front so they can watch me.
Oh, no. I'm pretty familiar with yoga. I'll be okay.
Okay, well, if you need a block or a strap,
That's supposed to be Gandhi if he was to attend the yoga class.
Doing great. Gandhi, just toward the ceiling on that up dog, okay?
Oh, do you mean my Urdhva Mukha Svanasana?
No up dog. Don't worry, you'll learn the terminology. Gandhi, you gotta pick up the pace. You're not gonna burn any carbs. Would you stop looking at my butt?
What? No, I didn't. I'm celibate.
You're right, creep. You're doing great, but maybe next time try and wear appropriate yoga attire. Okay, maybe a lycra top.
This is a traditional Indian dhoti. I spun it myself.
Right. There's a Lululemon down the street.
Is this Coldplay? Yep. This is definitely Coldplay.
I'm on a juice fast,
Oh,
so
cool. Oh, you're fasting. What for? To protest imperialism?
beach season.
Beach season.
Right, let's keep it down. This is a place of quiet reflection.
I'm pretty sure this is a crunch gym. There's a guy giving out sports drinks right there.
You look thirsty.
Are you kidding me? This is a Yankee Candle. Cinnamon bun.
With all due respect, Mahatma, I am a certified yoga instructor.
Oh, really? Who was your guru? Carl Smith. What an honorable yogi.
I really want to try a yoga Lattes class.
Oh my god, that is so spiritual.
Bitch, you do realize this is my actual religion, right? I will give anyone $10 if they can tell me who this is. Anyone? No, I didn't think so. It's Krishna, 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Learn it. Why is it so fucking hot in here?
We're doing Bikram yoga.
Well, you know, in my day, we did a traditional form of yoga where the room was normal and you didn't sweat your balls off.
You seem stressed. Just take a breath and flow your chakras down into your heart center.
What the Never mind. I'm leaving. Fuck all of you. You don't know what that means.
All right. So do you guys get what that means? So let me explain it to you. This, for me, is an example of what happens when something becomes modernized. When Western society attaches its fingers on it and turns it into a product. It rips it off all its essential teachings and elements and turns it into a very basic product for everyone to attend to. So why is this happening? Take that same class. The so-called yoga instructor is the same bullshit blockchain experts I see everywhere attending conferences. They're the same people that come. Cheers. Not here. Mostly. So this is the same thing, right? So they come and say, you know, it's the blockchain. We should get the blockchain. We should put it on the blockchain. And literally like Gandhi, I'm like, what the fuck? So that's what's going on. A lot of experts are going around, certified by other so-called experts. And I go to these events, and I'm shocked. You know, the same thing has happened throughout history to so many things. You know, you can take music, you can take yoga, you can take meditation, you can take so many things, and you just get stripped, right? So today we had a talk at 4 p.m., which was a gentleman talking about Bitcoin, not blockchain. How the industry has allowed people to lose focus on Bitcoin and instead focus on blockchain. And how banks are working together to deliver us that blockchain that everyone wants. Guys, you don't want Bitcoin, that's for drug dealers, right? It's the blockchain that you wanted, and we got it. HSBC is working on it, no problem, guys. Let's get together. And that's what's going on. So they're like, oh, it's blockchain, guys. Don't worry about Bitcoin, which is the first decentralized money after thousands of years. Don't focus on that. Focus on blockchain, and we'll take care of you as we've been taking care of you for thousands of years. I appreciate that you guys find it funny. We're here to have fun. So do you need a blockchain or do you need a therapist? This is the first question you should ask as a consultant to anyone you have a meeting with. If you need a therapist, it's very easy. You can find it. You can Google it. If you do need a blockchain, then the follow-up question is like, why do you need a blockchain? These are questions that people don't want to ask because it's not good for marketing. You should blockchain everything, right? Put on the fucking blockchain. It will make life better. We'll get there. So what's going on in the world? I went to Australia, I came back. I found out in Australia they passed a legislation that did not have enough opposition because people are too busy worrying about what Trump is saying on Twitter and what, you know, Game of Thrones. We can't not watch Game of Thrones. This is what's going on. This is in the European Union. In Australia, the same thing passed earlier this year. This passed in European Union November last year, I believe. It's a bill that was passed which allows pretty much the government to authorize a bail-in. So in 2008, there was a bailout. Banks were bailed out. So $16 trillion, you can look it up on Ron Paul's website, was introduced to not USA, but also to the global economy to prevent it from collapsing. So this time they said, well, we can't really do that again. Why don't we instead take people's savings? That sounds pretty good. This sounds crazy to you, and it might sound crazy to you. And it is crazy. It should sound crazy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is the reality. In Australia, the same thing passed. In Australia right now, the government has the authority to take people's deposits from their bank and upon pre-approval or authorization, give enough money back to them so they can, you know, pay their bills and, you know, you don't want them to starve. They should be able to buy some food with their savings. And that's the crazy, absurd notion that's being passed around. And I don't know how many of you knew about this. Please put your hand up if you knew about this. All right, so about 10, let's say. About, let's say, less than 10% of the room knew about this. But this affects everyone. This is huge. I don't see an article about this. I don't see it on the news. I don't see it anywhere. Is it okay for an institution to take your savings? Is it? No, it's not. How do you exit? Is it okay if I'm like, hey man, I fucked up with a few deals. Do you mind? Not even do you mind. I'm gonna just like take your bank account and just like save myself. But I'll give you enough money so you can buy bread. Calm down. It's okay. Let's move on. So we have this issue right now where we have countries where I've visited, like Serbia. We have countries where I'm originally from, like Iran. And the problem is, in these countries, they have been destroyed by you know, whether it's Western influence, whether it's internal influence, or whatever it is, so much that when a new idea comes out, everyone's skeptical. They're like, here we go, who's scamming us next? So many scams have occurred in these countries that the moment you go up to them and be like, dude, you know, Bitcoin, blockchain, they're like, man, we've been robbed enough. Like, please, just leave us alone. We don't need it. So those that need it don't trust it. Those that trust it don't really need it, because they've been living pretty well until the next crash, and then we'll see. So where are we going with all this? Let's go to the experts. This is a chart put out by Deloitte. So they went around and asked executives, how many of you know blockchain? 70% are bloody experts. 70%. They're not shy about it. They're like, yep, I'm the one. I know how it works. I know what to do with it. This is Deloitte. This is alarming. These things that I'm telling you, we're laughing right now. It's cool. We can laugh. But this is reality. These are the people that shape the minds of the people around you. Maybe not you guys, but the minds of the people that you go and tell about Bitcoin are shaped by these people. So how do we change this? How do we allow people to think on a higher frequency so they don't think they're experts, and we don't have bloody yoga instructors telling Gandhi how to do yoga? They believed the most advantageous component of a blockchain is speed. I know it's painful, isn't it? I wish I could get the camera on you. The pain in your face. But that's it. They're like, it was speed that we were lacking. Thank God for blockchain. Let's get it going. But it wasn't speed. It was integrity of data. It was openness. It was the ability to innovate without permission. It was transparency. It was all these things that were introduced with a blockchain, formerly known as Bitcoin's blockchain. They were later modified and altered for various altcoins and other systems. So why do people so arrogantly put their hand up and say this? What is wrong with our society that we have blockchain experts talking about the blockchain, that we have executives shaping our society in control of our financial security, saying they're experts and saying blockchain's most, important component is speed? I don't have an answer for this, but I would like everyone to reflect on that. Let's move on. Do you know what this is? This is goat shit. This is all I see when I go to these events. When I go to these events, people are there talking about how this ICO is going to change the world, how putting it on a blockchain is going to revolutionize the shoe industry, the fishing industry, the diamond industry. While all I see is end product is goat shit. And the problem with this is that we don't have a way of actually knowing what's real and what's not. I've been involved since 2013. For me, it's sometimes difficult, but mostly I get by. I get to figure out who's up to what. I'll move it from the goat shit, so you don't have to look at it. Though imagine you're in it for 2-3 months. Imagine you yourself just sit there, Google Bitcoin, imagine you don't know anything about it, and try and pretend you're a new person. It is very difficult. It is very, very difficult. Like, if I speak, person will be like, why should I listen to this guy? JP Morgan CEO said Bitcoin is a scam. He's a billionaire. He's running a probably $1 trillion industry. I should listen to him. Why do we live in a world where we are radical and their liars are superior? Why is that? Why am I called radical when I'm telling people the truth? I didn't make any of this shit up. Like, you can Google everything I've just said, it's the truth. It's not hard to find. So why am I radical, but JP Morgan is a superior, high-praise CEO that if you attended his company from a university, they're like, wow, good job, you got a job with JP Morgan. That's going to look great on your resume. Next door will be Goldman Sachs, and you're nearly there. Why? Why do we live in such a world? I don't know. I don't have answers for this. But I want us to reflect on it and hopefully figure out a way to know more. So we are here trying to explain to people. I'm getting tired. I've been talking since 2014. I've been to so many events. I'm getting tired. I'm running out of energy. But I'm not going to stop, because the moment I stop, I've given up. But I'm not going to give up. But I'm getting tired. What do I have to show for it? I'm not a materialistic person. So people around me say, dude, if you were so knowledgeable, where is the proof? Where is your BMW? Where is your golden mansions? I don't want these things. But we live in a world where people want my success to be reflected with material goods. But if I don't want those things, how do I justify what I've been doing for the past 4 years? How do I materialistically prove to them that I've inspired some people's minds to open up and consider different paths in life that do not take the normal way? I don't have a way of showing that. All I have is the burden of being called a radical person. It hurts. I don't know how many of you do this, but it literally hurts to be somewhere and you're talking and people are like, oh, I mean, come on, please stop with that stuff. But what I'm doing is not for myself. I'm secure. I'm out. I'm on cryptocurrencies. I've been on cryptocurrencies since 2014. I haven't used a bank account unless I was stuck in a certain situation I needed to. So I tapped out. I tapped out, man. I got out. For 4 years, I've been living on that Bitcoin. I don't want cash. I don't want dollars. I don't want it. But I do this so people can learn from it. Meanwhile, people look at me like I'm crazy. No one gave a fuck about Bitcoin. I told all my friends, hey guys, get involved. The price went past $2,000. They're like, hey man, what's been going on? That Bitcoin you spoke about sounds pretty interesting now, you know? And I'm like, it was pretty interesting at $100, you know? It's gonna be interesting, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what's going on, you know? I don't know why, but the human mind needs validation in the form of US dollars or in a guy wearing a suit working for one of the most, I mean, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are the key components in the 2008 crash. Why are we listening to them? I don't understand. If you guys get it, please come talk to me, buy me a beer and calm me down, tell me. But this is what's going on. And people are looking up to these people and saying, we need regulation. We need regulation so then big investors can come in and then Bitcoin will be worth what we want it to be worth. From who? Regulation from who? Wasn't Bitcoin's purpose to get us away from the people doing the regulation? Wasn't its entire concept based on mathematics so it no longer needs a human input? Aren't all the things that are wrong with Bitcoin due to the third-party services that are using Bitcoin to provide these services, which again goes back to people? So should we not focus on systems that remove people as much as possible rather than say, hey, grandpa and grandma, we need your input, like we need your regulation, we're scared. I don't know, I thought that was the plan in 2013. I have comments on forums from 2013, 14, and halfway through 15 when things started to change, where if you came on the forum and you were like, hey, how much is this going to be worth? You were ostracized. People would attack you and be like, dude, are you only here for the money? If you are, please get out of this community. I have comments from NXT's lead community like members saying, hey guys, if you're here just for the money, please leave. So why did this change to now every single forum post, like 90% of it is like, when Moon, when Lambo, when this much, when that much? What happened? The yoga shit happened. The goat shit happened. So how do we stop it? How do we change the culture back to where it was? I don't know. I'm not here to give you answers. I'm just here to talk and reflect together. All I know is that if you have skills as a developer, as a hacker, you have two choices in life. One is that you go glorify a company like Google and IBM and you give your talents to them, which will further suppress the human beings or collectives. The other option you have is forget about the status and instead use your skills to do some good. Yeah, you may not get paid as much. You most definitely won't get paid as much. Because scamming pays, man. And these guys know how to do it. But at least you'll be putting your skills to some good use. So I don't have a problem with these companies. I don't have a problem with JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, the Federal Reserve, the central banks. I don't have a problem with any of them. I have a problem with the people that go and help them. I have a problem with the people. See, it's like a bad relationship or a dancing partner that's not good. You can be like, that person's, you can kind of like put all your worries in like the Federal Reserve made my life hell. You know, the economy crashed because of them. But what have you done as an individual to step away from that? And that's a very good question people need to ask. So it's not just putting the blame on like, oh, the money system is fucked. Let me just sit here like write about it for 4 years. Okay, give people tips. Let them know, okay, you got Windows, use Linux. All right, you need Windows for Microsoft Office, there's LibreOffice, it's open source. All right, you definitely need Microsoft, use the online version, still on Linux. You need Photoshop, all right, you can put Windows on a USB stick, there you go. But when you don't, use Linux. You can give people these kind of tips, very small adjustments in their lives on how they can improve their way of living so they're not reliant on proprietary software. Or they're not reliant on these big, giant organizations that are just sucking people's lives. Moving on. There was a comment by, in Russia, they said that if you want to issue a token, you would need to have a license. I've been waiting for this for many years. It's finally here. And that license needs to be registered with the central bank. And you also need an operator to do the conversion. I wrote conversation, but it's meant to say conversion. So if you want to exchange cryptos to fiat, you need to go through all these boundaries. So they're closing the gates. Why? Because uninformed people got involved, lost money, or a lot of people who got the wrong idea said, hey, government, please help us, because there's a lot of scams going on. Blinded to all the scams that are happening through their own local governments, but this was their focus. I don't know how to stop these things again, but I know this is a very short-term thing. I know that in time there will be DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, that there will be a lot of other protocols that will help people. But until then, we have to deal with this. Moving on, ETF, let's leave that alone, but what the fuck? Went over that. All right, I'll tell you a story. I was at an event in Amsterdam called Rethink Trust. Very suiting title. Believe it or not, the product manager of Coinbase had the audacity to get up and speak about the dangers of centralization, which is very valid. Everything she said was very valid. Centralization is bad, hacks have happened, hacks are growing, percentages are going up. Amazing. but you're Coinbase. Why are you talking about dangers of centralization? Like, a cigarette company doesn't come out and say, hey, cigarettes are bad. It's just bad. It's just bad presentation. So I questioned her. I go, excuse me, I'm very surprised you speak about the dangers of centralization. Meanwhile, you're one of the biggest centralized fiat to cryptocurrency exchanges on the planet. What is up with that? And she gave an answer, irrelevant answer. But the point remains that these are the people that go to these events. Rethink Amsterdam, big event. It was very expensive. I got in, otherwise I wouldn't have gone. I got in for free. And these are the leading voices in this space. So people go to this and go, yeah, centralization is bad. Let's go to Coinbase. You know? Misunderstanding the whole concept. So these are the voices that are relaying throughout our society. These are the people dictating what people should do. Then the Cisco guy came up and he said, hey, blockchain is great. It's immutable. It's open. You can innovate on it. All the wonderful things. Cisco is not developing public blockchains. Why is he taking the benefits of public blockchain and speaking to people about it and then saying, come to us, Cisco, we'll build you a proprietary blockchain? Proprietary blockchains don't carry the same principles as an open source one. It loses majority of its benefits the moment you close it. It's like Windows coming out and saying, open source software is amazing, guys. You can develop on it whenever you want. You can check it up on GitHub. Anyways, come get Windows. People were like, what the fuck, man? What are you talking about? You know, it just doesn't make sense. But these are two giant shadows within our world, you know? These are the people that kind of influence millions of people's thoughts. So they go and do these talks, and then people are like, well, I guess they're all the same, you know, distributed ledger technology, they call it. It sounds better for marketing. And they don't distinguish between open and closed source, which is a huge thing to understand. So if you have friends, if you go to events, please point these things out. I can only do so much. If you agree with it, if you don't, that's fine. But if you agree with what I'm saying, please make an effort. Let people educate them. I don't know, write a blog post, write it on Facebook, write it on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the fuck. But just let people know. Because that's the only way to prevent people from going down the wrong path. Where are we? Bitcoin or blockchain experts, everywhere, good on the good. Ah, yeah. I was speaking to a friend, and she studied law. And I was speaking to her about Bitcoin. I'm like, hey, dude, you know, like, she's like, I watched a few of your videos, you know. I'm like, cool, that's really nice of you. Cheers for watching it. You know, like, what do you think of it? She's like, oh, Bitcoin, I don't think it has many applications. I think it's good for money laundering. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, first of all, if you watched my videos, you would know that's not true. But that's like saying the internet's only good for child pornography. And saying we should shut down the internet. People are using it for child pornography. Forget about all its other benefits, but let's focus on that. But like, dude, they're gonna do it whether internet or not, you know? A majority of money laundering actually occurs in fiat money. So why are we even having this discussion? So I'm just a bit confused, as you can see. There's a lot going on. So I decided to make my own documentary. I've been going around interviewing people of interest, people that have something to say. Because a lot of times I go talk to these people, they're like, yeah, but like, what can you use it for? And for me, I've been living on it for the past 4 years. So I'm confused. I'm like, do I not exist? What did I imagine the past 4 years? Did someone pay my bills randomly? Or like, was I on an LSD trip? Was it all just like, you know, in my mind? Like, clearly I've gotten around for the past 4 years. I've flown to places, lived in places, bought things. So I don't understand what you mean there's no application. I must be crazy then. And this is what's wrong. People just don't know. So I like to point out projects that highlight these important changes that are occurring, which brings us to the sharing economy. I just added this like last minute because I was reading one of the... Sorry? Oh, okay. It's past my time? It's 45 minutes, no? Okay, no problem, guys. I'll quickly wrap it up, but this is one of the comments that someone had wrote. And I found it really interesting. The person was from USA, and he said, I like to send USB sticks with information so people can open their minds to the brainwashing that's occurring in North Korea. But this is happening globally. Why isn't he sending USB sticks to US citizens? Like, send them to North Korea. Like, send it to North Korea, but at the same time, just go down to the local pub and hand it out. You know, like, people would be interested to know how they're brainwashed in their own local cities too. Don't just project that incorrectness, like, to a country you've never been to and you know nothing about. You know, why not start locally and educate those around you? I don't mean any disrespect to what he's doing. Just keep that in mind. Like, good on him for doing that, but that's how we work, right? Like, let's fix North Korea. It's like, dude, fix your own country first. I'll skip this part. This is the amount of fraud that's occurring globally. Well, they estimate to be occurring due to the Internet of Things. My problem with this, a lot of these can be solved with decentralized systems. A lot of these issues are due to centralization, to the inability for people to see transparent, getting transparent window within these systems. I'll move on. Sharing economy. It's growing. It's growing. I'll wrap it up a bit quicker, but pretty much sharing economy is growing exponentially. And the tools that are built using blockchains, using any other form of decentralized systems are at the heart of these platforms. The problem is that they believe a lot of this revenue, 85% of it, will go to the facility, the providers that, service providers. This is a very centralized thought, because if you have softwares like OpenBazaar, they don't take your fees. If you have a decentralized blockchain version of Uber, the service provider is not going to get 85% of the fees. It will be given to the end consumer, but they don't educate people with these things. This is like a very official document highlighting these statistics. So they don't even inform people of the choices they have. So which brings us back to the choice. We have choices to make a difference. If you're developing something, educate people that blockchain tools, in most cases, don't take a fee. That is third parties who are greedy that come in and take the fees. There's these statistics, whether it's fraud occurring within Internet of Things, or it's the sharing economy's growth and the amount of money that goes to the service providers, is all due to centralized way of systems. And we can change all of this. Storage is a good example for me because it allows you to share your hard drive and earn money. This is a great example for me. So someone in an underdeveloped country can just lend their hard drive to the network and get money for it. It's that simple. These are tools that are working. They have been working for years. So why do people come up to me and say, hey, what's going on in the world? You know, when are these blockchain tools going to do anything? I haven't seen any applications so far. It's all theoretical. It's all in beta. It's working, man. I'm not an ideologist, based on ideology. This is like actual functioning software. And meshing networks and all these things come into it, but I guess, it all goes back to sharing economy. So the moment someone says, hey, is it just Bitcoin? No, it's not. The world is changing. The sharing economy is changing the way we interact with each other. The sharing economy includes Bitcoin and blockchains, but it also includes a lot of other systems, because people with technology are able to connect with one another without centralized entities coming in the way. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for the laughter and seeing the humor to the side of this, but there's some serious stuff going on. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. Cheers, guys.
Again, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any questions for Amin?
Hi, I like your presentation.
Thank
Very
you.
funny, well, but not funny topic because people are getting scammed by trillions. But anyhow, the question is, how one can design properly the incentives into the blockchain so it will spread faster? Because I used to be anarcho-capitalist. I moved more a bit somewhere else, but thing is that sometimes the centralization has its benefits. For example, you don't ask the neighbor, how would you like to pay your black water security, but you just force them to do it. And it's kind of have savings, because you just don't ask them, you just take their money. But how do you like program in the incentives, so the decentralized solutions for example, for sharing economy will spread faster. For example, you could probably maybe do multi-level marketing on blockchain, which sounds pretty horrible idea, but anyhow, how would you do that? Because thinking that we should be nice and spread it out doesn't really work. Sometimes the incentives, financial incentives, are really much better solution than trying to be nice persons.
Yeah. Well, I guess prior to all these systems, so for example, something like this, like a decentralized cloud storage, existed prior to storage. Like they weren't the pioneers of such an idea, but it existed in a way that people just did it out of the kindness of their heart. So it was very hard to tell them to, hey, you know, join this network. It's like, why am I doing this? But the incentive is the currency. So I'm a bit confused about your question because like a lot of the underlying incentive for all these platforms are the cryptocurrency. But perhaps I'm not understanding it fully.
Well, why this doesn't work? It's like, okay, I will scream louder. Okay, I'm not saying that the incentives doesn't work. For example, if you share your hard drive, you get the money for sharing it, which is great incentives. I am saying it's really great and good, and it's pretty logical to do it. But how do you incentives the second derivation or of the platform growth? How do you increase the rate of new users and contributors to such projects? For example, how do you design properly the incentives to, like, for example, to spread it? Some, you know, not that you get the money, but that you brought persons in.
Okay, the only thing I can link it to, like, it's not going to be, you know, favored by everyone in the room, but it would be like being a vegetarian. And I don't go around telling people to do it. They see me eating, they ask me questions, I'll tell them. But a way to do it is just raising awareness, like why use proprietary software and explain the risks involved with it. It's just in a lot of cases people have no idea. So for example, in the case of Bitcoin, you know, the early pioneers of it had to go around and tell people why it's important to use Bitcoin, why the banking system is screwed up. So a lot of the first documentaries and talks and a lot of those things were specifically about, you know, exposing the people's minds to what's going on in the world. So it wasn't about like, buy Bitcoin, you're going to become rich. It was like, dude, there's some horrible things going on. And this is one way of you tapping out of it. It's a choice. So I think approaching people on that level is very effective. So just allowing them to understand, you know, the benefits from a human perspective, rather than, I guess, incentive as money. There's, you know, so I understand your concern. For me, it would be raising awareness. But, yeah, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, other questions?
Hi, great talk, thanks. Just a quick follow-up question on this regarding awareness. I mean, everyone who understands the space always, you agree on, okay, we need more education. 100% agree there. But what do we do? Because the interest in cryptocurrency raises, you know, equally with the price. We know that. And once the price raises, everyone just wants to buy it for speculation. So there's not much actually mind share for going into the deep topics and explaining them like, okay, this is actually about something else. So I'm one of those that wanna be educating people about crypto banking here in Prague, literally helping them to get on board with cryptocurrency. I'm planning to launch daily workshops, you know, and people can like come in for free, basically pay if they want or not. It's an experiment. But I wonder if I ever even succeed to get people through the door, if like, I don't know, for next 6 months we're gonna be through accumulation phase probably. Do you have any recipe, do you have any idea, how do you actually get people interested to come and learn about this without having to somehow force it on them in a bar, you know, I need to tell you about Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Because we've been there all, like.
You know how like Apple has those genius bars or whatever they're called, where you go in and like talk to people? I've always imagined like, why don't we have a similar thing with Bitcoin and, you know, like a space where people are like, man, like, you know, I watch the news, I don't know what's going on, can like one of you help me out? Like I am interested, how do I get some? Is it risky? Like, you know, it would be kind of cool where the average person can just go in puzzled and just ask everything they need to and just walk out feeling a bit better about it. And these people are part of some sort of organization that verifies their knowledge, you know, and it should be open, it should be everything, you know, transparent. I think that would be a very effective way, because there are people who are interested. I speak to heaps of people, heaps means a lot, who are always coming up to me and saying, man, yeah, I've heard about it, it's that internet money thing, but I don't really know, I haven't really looked into it. It's like, you know, I went and kept watching Netflix, whatever, you know, that's what's going on. So if you have a space where people can feel safe and not feel stupid about asking about it, I think that's a big component of it. People don't want to seem like, you know, that they're being stupid or they don't know. So if they feel safe enough to come in and just ask, that would be the best way to do it. Because I think a lot of people are interested. No one wants to support a financial system that's like corrupted as it is. They saw what happened in 2008. So I think creating a safe environment where, you know, it's not so much like, again, bringing it back to vegans, like screaming at them, you're killing people, you know what I mean? Like create a very safe environment, raise awareness in a friendly way, where get them to come and ask the questions, you just help them. Like in Amsterdam, the gentleman here has like a very good organization that helps to do that, where people can do that, learn from it. If they have like, hey, I'm building this software, should I use a blockchain or not? They can guide them through it, like do you even need it? Like how do you do it? Rather than turn into a so-called expert, we like put everything on it, you know. I think that would be one way to do it. Another way to do it would be just like, I think the more casual it is, the better it is. I don't know much else apart from that Genius Bar sort of style, because that's something I thought about myself, and I haven't seen it yet. You know, yeah. Cheers. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for your talk. I liked it very much, but I have one question. Why did you call it the third industrial revolution?
Ah, yeah.
The title is the
it's not my title. The Third Industrial Revolution is a documentary made by Vice. You can actually go watch it. It's very, very interesting. You know, it highlights the changes that are occurring in the world and how we're shifting from that. So I don't know the first two, specifically at the top of my mind. I actually forgot, to be honest. But it is the third industrial revolution. So we had 1 and 2. The first was like the combustion engine or something.
The first was steam, like steam engines, right?
Yeah.
And the second one was Henry Ford's production line, like streamlining production. And the third was like automation technology in production.
But this is automation. The sharing economy is automation. So Internet of Things is automation.
Yeah, but interesting is in Germany they are already talking about the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
And talking about Internet of Things and stuff like that. So.
Well, I can change. Like it's yeah. I appreciate the comment you're making. I'll look into it. I'll make sure it's more correct. But I think it's a grain of sand in the bigger topic. But yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hey, it was perfect presentation.
Thank you
very much. I have a question. What is your opinion or guess about influence of some very bad thing in future? What could happen, like the financial crisis or world war? Do you think it would be for crypto market and for these technologies more like opportunity, or you would think that it would be as well but would have bad influence on crypto market?
No, I've been asked this question actually on the Facebook group that I put up, and you know the results speak for themselves. So if you look at countries like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Iran, you know, in Iran the Bitcoin was trading at like 4 times its market price or 3 times its market price. In Zimbabwe it was trading at double or triple. In Venezuela similar things was happening. You know, the moment people get into a situation where they can no longer rely on the state, they will look for alternatives. And it's no longer very functional to carry gold and silver with you. Like those commodities are good. If you live in a secure place, you can secure it, but you can't really transport it that efficiently. So cryptocurrencies have become something that you can easily transport with you, or even not with you. And it allows people to exit and be able to have some sort of a security. So based on, not my opinion, based on actual events that have occurred in these countries that I mentioned, it has shown that cryptocurrencies actually increased greatly in value because the supply does not match the demand. And that's one way of looking at it. The other aspect is that I do worry about the hoarders of Bitcoin, that, you know, at the same time we are screaming decentralization and open source, there are select individuals who carry a high, you know, a very high percentage of Bitcoin, and that for me is quite worrying. But I don't know how to fix that. I think that's like a quite normal thing. It's like, you know, if you release all the money in the world equally to everyone, it will find its way back to the elite kind of pattern. You can't avoid that. But yeah.
Do you see any other event? What would happen? What would help crypto market to rapidly grow?
Yeah, for sure. Truth. So everything I spoke about, it would be nice if people just like comment, you know, on a common level spoke about it. It would be nice if my friends and family were like, yeah, we know that Australia passed a law that's going to take our money. Can you help me get involved with cryptocurrencies so my savings don't get taken from me? You know, cultural memory, it could last about 7 years or something. And they change things, you know, you can look into the programming of how culture works, and it lasts about 7 or 8 years, and then they shift things. And people have forgotten, like I have to remind people of 2008, that was 10 years ago. And like they have forgotten, like for me it's crazy how people forget. It's like, oh, why would the government do that? It's like, dude, you know 2008, 10 years ago, the entire globe nearly like collapsed. Do you understand that? Do you understand that 10 million people in the US lost their homes? You know, these are not jokes. It's not a joke, man. 10 million people is a lot of people. Like, they lost their home because of greed. And out of it, all the smaller entities died out, and the ones that were the biggest, like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, became even bigger. You know, these are hard, you know, I don't know how to explain these things more to people better, but I think educating people is very important, and that would be a very good thing. Having a site where you can have some sort of a validation on, like, if someone has a question, they can post it, like a Reddit sort of thing, but not filled with, like, you know, trolls and everything. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, news sites portraying the truth would be nice too, similar to what Elon Musk kind of like wanted to introduce, where you have news where you can get rid of fake news completely. And I think that's the heaviest tool and the most efficient tool they have to be able to shape the truth based on as they desire.
So ignorance and propaganda are the worst thing for now.
Yeah. Cheers.
Okay, we are running out of time. I would like to thank you. I'm pretty sure you will stay with us all weekend.
Yeah, I'll be around. Thanks for listening.
So,
cheers.
Thank you again.
Thanks, man.